just kind of a lag.
Yeah. So click it again and don't think it paused. Oh, you can shrink that down. Just put it, yeah, just shrink it down in the background.
Here. All right.
Commissioner Morthorst told me he couldn't attend.
Yes, Morthorst and Horning.
Yes,
Morning.
they were going to be absent today.
All right. What network am I supposed to be on in here?
You can do, our passwords on the wall behind you.
Other copy.
Yes, our called guest.
Got it, 1957. Okay. I'm almost 2 years. done.
What?
57.
2 years old?
I was 1. Okay.
Was it? Still have to
Yeah,
read
you are,
2
yeah,
decades.
next year. Yeah, my husband's 57, my sister 58. All right, let's go ahead and you started recording. So let's call to order the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study for Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. And we will go through roll call for the members and then staff and then visitors. So we'll start with Director Carney.
Hello, Sadie Carney, Sub-District 3 for the Chariot Board. I use she, her, or she, they pronouns. And that's you.
Mariano Presi, Salem-Keizer School District, she, her.
Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Keizer, Chair of SKATS.
Bella Sini, City of Huntsville.
Not quite a member yet, but definitely here, and we're delighted to have you here. Member on the screen would be Trevor.
Hey, Trevor Phillips, the appointed member from Salem City Council, Representative Ward 3.
Anna.
Anna Hansen, ODOT.
Okay, let's go to staff. Start with Teresa
Teresa was in her SCAT staff.
and Desiree.
Desiree Collins, SCAT staff. I don't know what to introduce myself as yet.
You were
As our new employee, going to be our administrative assistant for SKATS and the COG, taking over for Teresa.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Yay.
Looking forward to working with you.
I'm excited too. Thank you.
We're a fun group.
Lots of.
Mike Jaffe, SKAT staff.
Steve Dobrinich, SCAP staff.
Kim Sapinar, SCATS.
And then on,
Hanson.
oh, there we are.
Julie Hanson, City of Salem Public Works.
All right. Okay, checking the room. Okay, then on screen, Brandon,
Hi, everyone. Brandon Williams, ODOT Area 3.
Trophy,
Good afternoon. This is Shofi Olazum with Chariots.
and Mark, you're the staff, right?
Mark Bernard, ODOT Region 2.
Okay. And Sarah,
Sarah Duncan, she, they pronouns. I am the alternate for the Salem Area Mass Transit Board.
all right, and then yesterday, Nick.
Hi, Nick Forty with the West Salem Neighbors Association.
All right, is that everybody? Did I miss anybody? All right. The first item of business is to approve the minutes from our policy committee meeting on March 26th.
I will make the motion.
Second.
Okay, moved by Maria, seconded by Trevor, to approve as presented.
I would just offer one clarification. I have to scroll up to it in my notes to get to which page it's on. When I mentioned the update to the cooperative agreement, section E2, it is not, it was not a remark based on the unanimous voting provisions for the policy committee, but rather the entities that are listed as part of the reconciliation in the event of a non-unanimous vote that I was remarking upon.
Could you point to the page?
I'm trying to scroll up to it. It's
Here. See if we can find a.
Yeah, so the way I wrote it was section E2,
page 7.
right, which covers the adoption endorsement process for the governing bonds. It's listed unanimous vote, that's what that flow chart. That's the process. we
Right,
follow.
and my comment for E2 was on the entities listed within that and whether or not they would need update vis-a-vis not the process itself. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I know we didn't change it for Turner, and there
Right.
hasn't been any
Well, no,
discussion
it's
about
not
just
about
adding Turner or adding Bounceville to that process. So that's something we could bring up when we next talk about the
Okay.
agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change what I just didn't know if we wanted to clarify that in the notes so that it was clear when we were looking back that it's not about the unanimous voting provisions. It's about the folks that are implicated in the event of a non-unanimous decision, whether or not that list would
Okay.
need to be.
We'll make a note about it for this minutes.
Okay,
And then when we bring back the cooperative agreement draft, and if you think that's something the committee needs to address, we can make another discussion.
okay.
Commissioner Cameron?
Yeah, Madam Chair, sorry I was late. Just a note, as I reviewed the minutes, I really appreciate the detail on the minutes. But I believe the motion that we voted on was not the correct motion. I think there was a motion to substitute. We voted on that motion, but we never voted on the final motion. So in the future, I'd like to make sure everybody has a chance to review that we did that accurately, and then in the future meeting, we could take that back up.
Commissioner, the final motion in the minutes was documented of what it was. And the final vote was taken.
But there was a motion by Councilor Phillips to amend the motion, substitute the motion. We never voted to adopt the substituted motion before we voted on the motion.
Well, Chair, you were kind of running the meeting on, so I don't know if you have
I
a.
just ask that people go back and look at Robert's Rules of Orders and make sure that we did that accurately. And we can discuss it in a future meeting.
Right, thank you. It was moved and seconded, and yes, we can have our parliamentarian go back and review
It was
that.
moved and seconded to adopt the substitute motion.
Right, and that was the discussion on that motion, and then there was a vote to approve that motion.
Right.
Let's revote.
At the very end of the minutes on that topic, after all discussion, was a vote to adopt that language.
Okay, then there was never a motion to adopt the amended motion. You have to do two things. If you amend a motion, you have to approve that amendment. Then you have to vote on the final motion. And we only did it once.
Well, I think it was because there was no exception on the amendment, so it was a replacement motion, and that's where it got all clunky.
Well, there's no difference between it. If you read Robert's Rules of Order, there's no difference between in fact, they don't even use the word friendly amendment. There's no difference between a single line amendment or a full replacement amendment. It still needs to be voted on to be accepted. So we voted on it once. We didn't vote on it
I
twice.
think I understand what you're saying. And I agree that, what was needed was this was an amendment to the original motion. And so,
Correct.
so it needed to be seconded and it needed to be
Voted on.
voted. And we got so far down the line discussing that we get it. Correct.
So I'm just asking if that would be reviewed, and if so, then we probably need to revisit it.
No, we don't need the vote. I know what happened.
Yeah. And there was there's my jurisdiction, we generally do, amendments and so forth. This was something I've seen used in other jurisdictions where they actually swap them out in their entirety. It was a substitute motion. And that was something I was not familiar with, but it says that we have now exchanged that, so this can be reviewed.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, and just a point of interest on this topic. I believe since we thought it was a substitute motion, that it was just by adopting the substitute motion, we were, that it was done. So if there's a technical issue that needs to be corrected in future, we're amenable to that. But I think our practice at Salem City Council, if it's a substitute motion, we don't end up having to vote twice like we do for amendments. But that could be, like in the bowels of Robert's Rules of Order. So we want to get this right. And yeah.
Okay. With that, any other comments on the minutes as presented? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed, signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes with 1 no as Commissioner Cameron. All right, let's go on then to item C, public comment. We have one letter that's been submitted from Nick 40, who is on the screen. And so we have not had a chance to read it. Mr. 40, did you want to comment on your submitted testimony?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, if I could just make a brief comment. So I'll just start out here. My name's Nick 40. I'm the Transportation Chair for the West Salem Neighborhood Association. So I previously provided written comments on the corridor performance reports, and I've already received a response from the Willamette Valley Council of Government. So I want to acknowledge that for their quick response. And but I also want to provide some quick context that I think will help you understand the written remarks. So my point is not to argue that the reports are not in or out of compliance with the congestion management process, but rather that the corridor reports should and could provide richer detail about the performance of the corridors. And there's two important perspectives that I think we would like to see. So that's the first is the perspective of the multiple modes using the corridor, and then some more focused information on signal performance. And the signal performance is particularly important, obviously, for us in West Salem, as you know, because we have a major transportation corridor there. We have some closely spaced signals, and we think having richer detail will be really beneficial, not just for us in West Salem, but also kind of providing that information for all the signals in the city. So some of this data could be provided by the signals themselves and some of it could also be provided by commercial sources from passing vehicles. And providing this information in the context of the corridor report is not only useful as an internal metric for signal timing, but also for improved management of the system for all users, focusing on short and long-term treatments that can improve performance, enhance safety, and encourage alternative modes. So thank you for the opportunity to provide some context, and thank you again.
All right, thank you very much.
And Chair, the handout and which was also sent by email this morning, to people that were not here in the meeting or couldn't attend, includes some of staff's responses
Okay.
to those suggestions. The person who handles this report is Ray Jackson, he's it's a vacation. So we'll talk with him, but you on your free time, you can read our responses to those ideas.
Y'all take vacation?
I think it's a policy.
Lose it or use it.
We have to take it.
We need a bunch of people to come back refreshed. Thank you very much, Mr. 40. Anybody else who would like to comment at this time? I think you were the only public matter. Oh, and I didn't acknowledge Ashley is on, Ashley Briers, Federal Highway. I just wanted to acknowledge, there you go.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
Glad you're with us. And then for the record, for those, make sure it gets on the recording, Commissioner Cameron did arrive before the vote and participated in the vote for the minutes. All right, let's go on to item D, which is the amendments to the SKATS fiscal year 24-29 tip. Steve.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about this, and I have about 3 or 4 slides to share on the screen. Okay, got them up there. So wanted to talk about 3 proposed resolutions to amend the current SKATS tip. And the first one is related to actually 3 transit projects. So the option here is to, it relates to 5339 formula funds, which are funds for bus purchases and bus improvements. And the way that it's outlined in the tip currently is there's 3 separate projects, one for federal fiscal year 22, one for federal fiscal year 23, and one for federal fiscal year 24. So the action here is to combine the 22 and 23 federal fiscal year projects into the federal fiscal 24. So essentially it'd be one larger sum of funds. We'd also be reducing the amount of the federal fiscal year 24 funds to match the actual apportionment from Congress. And then the last part is to update the project name and description. The current descriptions are just kind of high level, basically doesn't really provide any details about what's going to be done, but the updated name and description relates to replacement of fare box systems, as well as some of the collection vault system. So it's improvements on the buses, and I think it's around 70 plus buses that would be getting the improvement, as well as at some of the transit centers for the vault collection system. So those are the three changes, and then the new project amount of those three combined projects will be about $1.8 million.
Any questions on the fare box replacements, 73 buses? Okay, next one.
Yeah, the next one's pretty straightforward. This is also a transit project. This is Transit Formula 5310 funds from FTA. And these funds are for services provided to seniors and people with disabilities. And the apportioned amount for this project came in higher than what is currently programmed in the TIP. So the change here is to update that by increasing it by $165,000. So the new amount would be $487,000.
Any questions on that one? Okay.
All right, and then the last one, 24-11, this relates to our MPO planning funds, our line item in the TIP, which is used to run operations of the MPO. And so we had carryover funds, unspent funds from 2023. And so the action here is to take those funds and put them into the current year. We typically do this every year about this time to incorporate funds from past years into the current, or the upcoming actually work plan in this case. It'll be fiscal year 2025. So the total increase would be from about 1.2 million to about $2 million to bring in those additional carryover funds.
Any questions on that one? All right, we can take these in block or individually. Dealer's choice.
Madam Chair, I'll move resolutions 24-9, 24-10, and 24-11.
Second.
Resolutions 24-9, 24-10, and 24-11 have been moved and seconded in block. Is there anybody who objects to moving to voting in block? There's no objection. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. There's no objection. Motion passes unanimously for those two resolutions. Thank you very much. Let's go to item E, which is the adoption of the SKATS fiscal year 24-25 Unified Program Work Plan, UPWP. We'll do Mike.
Right, so the work program talks about what we'll be working on as a MPO for the next fiscal year, beginning in July. As you may recall, we came with an outline in, I think, October, outlining the topics we'll be including in this version. We came out with a draft in January for you to review it. We came out with an early draft so you can see it, have more time to respond to it. Then it went to Federal Highway and ODOT for their comments. We got back their comments. So this version is the latest version, and the changes since the one version you saw in January are marked in changes, track changes. So there weren't that many changes. I want to just go a few of what they were. We added links to the text for those who want to look at the source. We updated the funding table, specifically the EL 2.5, which is used for complete streets, and we're using it for safety and safe routes to school planning. There is a number of references to a greenhouse gas performance measures on the federal level. In December, the Federal Register published a greenhouse gas reduction performance measure that required states and NGOs to set targets. However, in the interim, 2 federal courts have addressed this issue and have vacated the new rule. And so I put on page, let's see, 12, but also on page 24, a couple of weeks ago, the Senate passed a resolution to overturn the performance measures as well. So, and Federal Highway is not accepting any more targets. So that measure, the performance measure, seems to be going away. Every 4 years, we have a review of our planning program, and Federal Highway does a report, including corrective actions they want us to do. Over the years, we've brought you updates to things like the congestion management program and public involvement program, things like that. So just wanted to note that we've met all those corrective actions. We got a letter in February from Federal Highway saying all the corrective actions have been met and closed. And so I've made various modifications to recognize that those corrective actions have been met. And the rest of the updates were really minor changes, explaining what acronyms mean or putting a date when something is expected to be completed. So I'm happy to answer any questions of the changes or any questions on anything in the document. But otherwise, I think it's ready to go. We did post the whole document with its appendices on our website. And I saved you from looking at 50 pages of appendices that have like a cooperative agreement, other agreements, the description of the SKATS planning model, the federal planning emphasis areas. So they'll be in the final document that's posted online if you want to take a look at those fascinating appendices. And with that, I just want to see if there's any questions on the UPWP.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you for putting the links in. That saves a lot of paper. I did have one question on page 17 of the document. It's page 42 of the packet. And I'm not Polk County, but they're not here. I was curious about the TSP, the Transportation System Plan. It says last adopted in 2009, partly updated in 2004. Is that backwards?
Could be backwards.
Okay, could that date be checked, please?
We will check that, sure.
And the fact that something that minor is the only thing that caught my eye says a lot about the work that you've done. So thank you very much on that. Any other questions from anybody? Director Carney.
Thank you, Chair Clark. In the future, would it be possible for us to look at I mean, I appreciate the markup. I just am not entirely certain. I guess maybe it's not the markup that's bothering me. It's, for example, I reviewed this document in the meeting packet with staff from the transit district, and the changes that they had proposed to align the document with their work did not seem to be reflected in what was presented in our packet. I don't know exactly what they are, but I don't know which comments are coming from whom when I look at the markup. And I think it would be helpful to know like what's coming from Federal Highway, what's coming from ODOT, where are transit's changes, how can we, in the document management process, assure that we are getting everybody's in there. I'm not sure what tool, aside from posting something to like a collaborative space, would allow you to do that, but that gave me some concern.
Probably if we gave you one with the comments or the
comment log.
So we do have a comment log of all the changes. Right, we printed one out with the
Various commenting parties, so that we could see like comments received from, and okay, they're reflected in the comment log.
Well, I tell you, it's more in the comment log. So like we'll get comments. Sometimes there's in the document, sometimes they're separated from the document. And so we'll go back and make those changes and extract changes, and we'll keep a log of who who made the comment and what we changed. We'd have to like put their name in there to say so-and-so, this
Our
change.
feedback from ODOT did not come in the document. It came in a separate comment.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Right.
feel
So
your
like I'm saying,
pain.
it's a lot of work to update these, and then sometimes the you know, it's a comment and we have to figure out what the appropriate change is.
Yeah,
So, happy to share that comment log if you want to look through those.
well, I'm more concerned on not necessarily seeing everyone's comments, but ensuring that those that were sort of reflecting more or less like a stark reality. You know what I mean? Like, I don't assume that the transit district was proposing changes that were editorial or large. I think that it was like, our responsibilities to this program are this, not that. You know, and I wouldn't want to say one thing in this document and then have transit deliver.
Well,
something
I'm
else.
happy to talk with transit again, but they wrote up their descriptions of their section on.
Yeah,
pages
and that's what I
46.
was saying. I reviewed with staff, but they just didn't see them reflected in this document. So I didn't know how to be sure.
Okay, I'm unsure exactly why they're not in there, if they're not in there, because we traded back, you know, versions back and forth, and you can see like at page 47, they had some changes, but I will double check with them.
Okay. And I would also add, I think this is a scan of a document, which disabled the links from actually working.
Probably in the packet,
Mhm.
it was
Yeah.
scanned, yeah.
Yeah, that
The
was,
one that was,
I was like, am I just old? Why can't I get these to work?
the one that you should find
Well, that's
posted
my problem.
was the one that's posted in the UPWP section of our website. Should be a PDF, not a scan. So that one, if you look on that one, the link should work.
I thought I looked in
Yeah.
both places.
I think,
In order to print it with the track changes, I had to print it off and scan it to PDF it. I could not PDF it and keep the track changes. So in order to do the hard print.
Sure. That makes sense.
we'll work on our process. Okay.
Yeah.
There's always copy paste.
Yeah. We do try to make sure it's not a scanned document for just that reason.
Yeah.
Images don't work. They're not
Yeah.
searchable. They're not tagged.
And then I had a few comments for within the document, let's process document or comments, if now is a good time, or if we should move through other folks' chair and leave it to you.
Finish up your list.
All right.
We'll go through.
On page 4, do we need to update the map to include Onsville?
Well,
Could we?
right now, we could, right now, they're officially not part of the MPO, and even
Oh,
our
okay.
plan, this is still our planning boundary, so we haven't updated our planning boundary. So,
Okay,
I kind of kept it official. I didn't put I'd like the cooperative agreement in here, still the existing cooperative agreement without Elmsville. So I think I do mention in here that an item still to do for the upcoming years
Yeah.
to finish all the work to bring in Elmsville, update the bylaws, et cetera.
yeah, on page, and I had a question about that too, that's on page, why did I just split screen, I don't understand what's that. Page 23 of the plan, I was just wondering. Discussions have been ongoing about potential changes to the MPO regarding adding the city of Almsville to the PC and whether the city of Salem, I didn't know if we wanted to reflect that past tense. Because we have had that discussion.
Well, and this change, I'm just showing you what was changed since January, so it wouldn't confuse things too much.
Okay. And then the other was on page 30 of the document. Scroll down to it so I can find the exact language. It just says 28, 29, 30. In the second paragraph, it notes as the final clause in the last sentence, the tip must be unanimously approved by SKATS Policy Committee. And then I wondered if on amendments to the tip, the paragraph that follows immediately, we might consider adding tip amendments do not require a unanimous vote of the policy committee. Because I think that's a little counterintuitive. It certainly was to me as an incoming member.
Well, that's why we're gonna update the bylaws. So the full document requires the unanimous approval by the policy committee. Individual amendments, like the one Steve has,
Right.
is a vote at these meetings, and a vote at these meetings follows Robert's rules about
Right.
motion and then a vote. So I think that's one of the things I want to make sure is clearer in our bylaws, because we don't address that clearly enough.
Okay, so don't add it to this until we.
I don't think this is a planning, what this is a document describing the work program. I think that kind of detail is gonna be required in our bylaws.
Okay.
But-
And then finally, related to the work, I was wondering on page 32, where did I want to put it? Let me see. Comments like. In the begin development of SKATS 2027-2032 tip.
What section is it near the top?
It is page 32, section 1B. Could we add,
Oh, it starts in 31.
Yeah.
yeah, it starts on section
Okay.
1B, extends to page 32.
Yeah.
Could we add a bullet for review of adopted policy committee policies that direct project funding commitments for TIP projects?
Well, Jared, it's your meeting. How do you want to handle that kind of change?
Explain what that would mean in terms of completing projects. Projects in the tip, and we finish them.
Well, there's reference earlier in the document. Let me see if I can find it in my notes here. It's so much easier on two screens. Of the funding decision made by the policy committee, and I would hope that we could refer to the actual resolution in the document itself, so that we could say what the resolution was that the policy committee passed, where we elected to make projects whole in our current financially constrained environment. I can't remember exactly how it was worded in this document. But I think it's I think it's important for us to understand how things get added to the tip, how things stay on the tip, what reasons, in the face of inflation or cost changes, that they stay on the tip, and the decisions that we've made, just to revisit it with the group, especially as we have incoming members that might not be familiar.
I think that, to me, that sounds different than what you just said. What I thought I heard in the first comment was that to have something about having decisions when a project is already in motion, to stop it between one phase or another, because once a project is in motion, we've got federal obligations. Finishing those,
Yeah.
that has to get to completion, or we're gonna be in some serious trouble. We're gonna lose a lot of money.
Yeah, no, that wasn't
So are you talking about,
my intention at all, just to review the policies that we have set as a committee that inform those decisions, especially because we have incoming members that might not be familiar with them all and the decisions we've made in the past.
well, we have the policies as far as the, what's going into the tip, and that's where we're going. So are you talking about when we're looking at the tip, what were you using to guide the decision-making for what projects will be added to the tip?
Well, so there's a bullet here, the second bullet in 1B, monitor the impacts of cost escalations on currently funded projects and subsequent availability of future funds.
Right.
And my suggestion was that we review the policies that we have created around directing project funding for the TIP projects. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Sure.
Commissioner?
Richard, well, the policy is that the recommendations are made a lot of times by the technical staff that we need to move some money to make sure that that project gets completed. I don't know. We discussed that. We have the option to move it or not move it. I don't know that there's a
Well,
policy says we would do that, but we have
We
pushed money forward to finish projects.
Sure, but we created a policy on this policy committee that said we will push forward the funding without question each time if it is in the tip. without, is it resolution?
No, it wasn't, never a resolution. So I'm looking back at our calendars. So this was the January 2023 meeting. This was after several meetings to talk about, cost escalations and should we develop some language about how we should complete projects. So thinking back, went to the TAC, they came up with some language, came here for a meeting in January, and we passed a motion as part of the minutes for the January 2023 PC minutes. Make completing projects in the TIP a priority over adding new projects to the TIP. Commit to adding funds to projects as they are requested and delaying projects and or project phases if additional funds are needed, as long as project sponsors have shown they have considered reasonable cost reduction options and a commitment to timely project delivery before requesting additional funding. It was passed unanimously by everyone at the meeting. Now, I believe the subject you brought up was something you brought up at other policy committee meetings. You want a chance to discuss that policy some more and
Just
see,
revisit
and
policy.
revisit and see if you want to make changes. And we could talk about putting that on some future agenda. I think it's more appropriate to have it an agenda item.
Oh, sure, that's why I was
Right.
proposing that
It's
we
not,
had it
it's
as a
not the kind of
work
thing I want to put in a work item because I don't want to dictate what policy we're going to look at and not look at.
item.
That's really for the policy committee to talk about.
Okay,
This is really a staff work program. And all, that's all part of keeping the TIP up. It wouldn't be part of the 2732 would be part of, the current TIP. But that issue, which you brought up a couple of times, we can talk about when we should get that in agenda so people have a chance to, know that's on the agenda. And in case there's some other motion to make some modification to that policy that was set a year ago.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The next bullet down, outline and discuss next steps in the TIP development process with SKATS, TAC, and policy committee. I think that covers, do we want to revisit those policies?
It does cover that, and Steve and I have been working on a potential schedule for the next TIP, what kind of topics we want to talk about, and this discussion about, what programs we want to fund, this whole thing about cost escalation. We want to bring it, this meeting, we're even thinking about having a joint meeting with the TAC. So you can ask them questions as staff level about how we develop projects. We've never had a joint meeting in many years, but it's not uncommon at this kind of level when you're first formulating what is the next TIP going to look like. Your TAC members have a key role in helping decide what projects are going to be applied for, and then how they look at them with staff to evaluate projects. And then the policy committee makes some choices about, what criteria are important to them, what projects they'd like to see. So I thought maybe we'd have a joint meeting to have that discussion. You can ask TAC members questions and staff, of course, as we are starting to put together in our head what we want the next TIP, the 27 TIP to be. So we haven't done that in the past, but I think in this case, especially dealing with all the cost escalations, we want to have that discussion. Look, should we set some money aside for all these cost escalations so we're not constantly juggling money around in order to fill a hole? So that was our intention, to have that discussion for the next TIP development.
okay, sorry, I got too granular
Yeah.
for the.
It's a policy discussion, and I didn't want to put that in the work program per se, especially that detail.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
and to kind of finish that thought, all of the transportation project agencies are looking at, what's it going to take to get the current projects that are in the pipeline to completion, and then just how deep can you go into your, the projects that are queued up. So all of our jurisdictions have transportation projects in our queue for the next phase. Keizer's next one is Wheatland. A corridor improvement. So we're good to go on that. That one's to be our top priority going forward. So that's what we're going to be putting forward for the next TIP. So all of us have already done that work based on our publicly adopted TIPs or TSPs. I love acronyms. Our TSPs. So a lot of that is we can learn about each other's projects, but I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that the projects that each of our jurisdictions are bringing forward have been vetted by our communities. Oh, Trevor, sorry.
No worries, no worries. There's no rush on this. I didn't have any major concerns. I want to apologize to Julie for putting on the hot spot. Just want to double check. Julie, did you find any major issues with this?
No.
Okay, perfect. And then I just want to thank Julie and Mike for bearing with me. I was scheduled to work right now, but I was able to get a last minute shift change. So this is my way of letting you all know that the current alternate is Counselor Mickey Varney. If and when, we get a second vote, she would likely be that person. And Mickey Varney represents Ward 8. So getting another member from Polk County seems like it's the city of Salem's entire goal is getting that diversity.
Well, just for the record, prior to you, the last two representatives from Salem were Ward 8.
Yeah.
So we have a long history of Ward 8 speaking for Salem. That was Councillor Lewis, and prior to that, Councillor Dan Clem, both representing West Salem. And I've had the pleasure of working with both. So looking forward to working with Councillor Varney in any capacity at this point. All right, anything further?
I have one question. I think it's for Commissioner Cameron. Is Marion County updating their TSP?
Yeah.
I didn't see it on page 40.
That on that chart?
Yeah. Regional planning. I'd be happy to add it. We haven't been asked for anything yet, but I am aware it's going on, so happy to add that.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Anything else? We've got the check on the Polk County dates, add the Marion County TSP. I didn't hear anything else we're actually adding. So we talked about some work for how this will roll out with the tip, but that's not going to change the description in the document itself. So with those two changes, ready to adopt?
I have one more question. Sorry. And that was that and I don't know that this relates to this work plan, so this will be an educational moment for me. There's no mention of the scenario planning exercise, or at least not using those words. Maybe it's in here and I just didn't recognize the work related to it because it didn't say scenario planning. That's completely possible.
Well, we are having some staff monitor it, and we are providing modeling services to it. I don't remember if we put something specifically in there. Let me check. And see.
Control F doesn't work on a scanned document.
It is part of the regional planning to comply with the TSP rule requirements. And it's saying that on page 40, I mean, that's the regional planning will include the degree of that's.
Oh, you're right.
It's not, we're not conducting the scenario planning ourselves.
Right. I mean, we were helping with the climate friendly area work with DLCD. And right now, Kim and Ray are attending some meetings that the three jurisdictions have about the regional planning, but we're not intimately involved in that work. It's a different kind of modeling work that's going on.
Running that model. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So we're kind of monitoring it. If they have a data request, we supply data,
Yeah,
right?
we have
So,
been.
Yeah.
We've supplied information and data.
Okay. And where is it that you see it?
Oh,
Page
so
40.
I'm on.
So just where we're missing Marion County on page
Yeah.
40.
Oh,
That's
right.
our regional planning to comply with the
Okay.
transportation planning rule.
Gotcha.
requirements,
Okay.
'cause those are up, the
Okay.
ones that were updated.
Thank
Yeah.
you for catching the Kim.
Cool. That is it.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. So I'm still, if I have kept score correctly, there are two actual changes.
Right. And then the check on the dates of the
The
Polk County TSP, which may be correct. It may have been updated in 2004 and then updated again in 2009.
Right.
We'll double check. that.
Right, it's just the way it's written with the dates backwards, maybe, huh?
And a check on the transit comments.
Check out the
Check on the
training.
transit comments, make sure that they're incorporated.
We'll contact, Shofi and, Steve French.
Okay, Sophie, you're on. So
Yes,
you've
I am.
got, if there was something that you were, I want to bring to our attention,
Nothing significant. There are some comments and then I'll work with Mike and then we'll get it fixed.
okay. So we've got, transit, Volk, and then Marion. Those are the changes?
Yeah, Marion County, the dates on, for Polk and
Yeah.
checking with transit.
Okay. Ready to adopt with, those three changes?
Plus everything else that's in track changes.
Commissioner?
Just point of clarification, is there more changes that are gonna come in from transit? Is that what I just heard?
Well, Carney thinks there's some additional conversations that we might have not included. I'm not aware of them. Because we did work with them, but we will double check.
I'd like to see the final draft with the.
Yeah.
Happy to do that.
Before we vote on adopting it.
Let's kick this to May.
That's okay, time wise, we okay with that?
I think we are.
Yeah, ODOT would like it sooner, but,
But Anna's good with us getting it right. Yeah, okay, we got thumbs up from Anna. I would agree.
it should be okay.
Madam Chair.
Should be okay.
All right, so we will, get the final in May with these notations.
You mind if I leave off the appendices or do you want the full document?
Should we save some for us and leave off the appendices as just as noted? And they will be in the final one online.
We can use it for us to build some houses.
Here we go. They make those really cool bricks out of recycled paper. Really cool. All right. Any of the appendices will just remain as a link online. Save the trees. All right, thank you very much. That takes us to tip modification. Steve.
Okay, so the last page of the packet, I can share it if it's helpful. It's a little hard to see on the screen though. I'll do that nonetheless.
Just a bunch.
There's quite a few this time. There's, yeah, so that's very small. I think every time I show this, I try to make it a little easier to read, but sometimes there's just so much information, it's a little hard. But hopefully, and I'm happy to zoom in on any of these in particular, and it's also in the packet as part of the attachment. Anyway, so this month there were 15 amendments that I'm reporting back on. The first 4 were reviewed by this committee last month and approved, so those should look familiar. And then from there on, there's a group of transit projects that we slipped to federal fiscal year 2025. So that was just saying they weren't going to obligate by September 30th of this year. And so transit asked to move those back into the next federal fiscal year. And then the last 3, so that's actually the majority of them are slips to 2025. And then the last 3 are changes to the 5307 formula funding, and 5307 is general transit, urban transit operations funding, and all 3 of these had slight decreases to the allocation based on the congressional appropriations process. And since they were below a threshold that we use for our TIP amendments, I just approved these as staff amendments and provide the update here. So really not any major changes other than the first 4, which we discussed at the last meeting.
Okay. Any questions on any of the TIP amendments? All right, thank you for keeping track of all of that. All right, let's go to item G, informational items. There's a table of our transportation planning that is underway.
Yeah.
So.
We go through those quickly. Too.
Yeah, just any highlights for us on those?
Yeah, we're working on the Transportation Safety Action Plan with the steering committee and the project management committee. We're kind of coalescing on the strategies. We want to make the priority strategies and some performance measures. We're working with a consultant on an outline and write up of the plan. The Oregon Travel Survey, which is a household survey of travel, not just in our area, but throughout the state. We've had a couple phases of data collection. We're doing another phase of data collection coming up. And then the safe routes to schools, which I really want to highlight. So I'm going to skip over this first one briefly and skip the second one. We have been coordinating with Cherry staff on a mobile classroom. We bring a bus to the school and we bring students out to get a talk about the proper etiquette for boarding a bus, waiting for a bus, riding the bus. I think we've done this at 2 schools so far. Cummings, I think, was one, and Washington Elementary School. And I think it's a good idea for safety, but also for chariots to encourage their students to eventually ride the bus, especially the 5th graders that are be available to ride the bus, to middle school if they need to.
Okay, just for making sure that our materials are correct, can we correct the spelling of Chavez? It's
Oh,
correct in the
sorry.
packet.
I apologize. Fix that.
Sorry. There we go. And done.
Put that slide together this morning.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And I just heard from our Safe Routes School coordinator, Beth, who's sitting over there.
Well, hey, Beth.
Um,
I just came in late.
That we started work on the annual art contest and calendar, but we're going to have to postpone it this year, try again next year. We didn't get many submissions this year. Sometimes these things happen, but we'll try again next year. The thing I really wanted to bring up was, which is on the screen. So this is something we're starting new. Beth's been working very hard to coordinate this. This is bringing bicycle safety classes to elementary schools. So she's completed the first one at Chavez Elementary School. 3 weeks of classes with students, with bikes, with helmets. We have some pictures to show you. They're assisted by staff, Safe Routes School staff, PE teachers, and volunteers. She's currently doing this same safety class at Harrod Elementary School in West Salem. And in May, she'll be in Morningside Elementary School. The bikes and helmets are provided by Cycle Oregon. You can do the next slide. So they come down with
Look at that.
they come down with their trailers. Those trailers are full of bikes. Next one. Each trailer has all those bikes on racks that they pull out. They're put in the gym, as you can see in that center one. The whole gym, the whole perimeter is full of bikes. And then the equipment's stored for helmets. Every kid gets their own helmet for the 3 weeks, carefully labeled, so we're careful about health and safety. They're given instruction in the gym, and Beth could probably give you details, but here's a picture of them getting some instruction. Next one. Virginia Stapleton joined us last Friday.
Thursday.
Last Thursday. When I was there talking to the kids about bicyclists and bike routes, we hope to develop a robust bike network by the time they are teenagers and adults. Here are 2 of the TE teachers, Jennifer Charda and Sean Kubishta. 2 PE teachers that were given the instructions at school, both with the monitors, but we had, Beth can confirm this, we had a variety of riders. Some have never really learned how to ride a bike, so we had all levels of abilities. So some kids needed more instructions on how to ride a bike in addition to just the safety issues of riding a bike.
I was gonna ask, like anecdotally, like how many kids actually knew how to ride a bike?
Can I answer?
Yeah, Beth should answer.
So the interesting thing about students who learn how to ride a bike, when I first started this with Cycle Oregon, they informed me that the number is up to 30% of children don't know how to ride a bike. It doesn't have anything to do with their socioeconomic status at all. It's just if the children, were given a bike or the opportunity to learn how to ride. So I thought that was interesting, but so far that's very true. We are only working through grades 3rd through 5th grade right now for bicycle safety because those students are the ones that are
typically more independent when they go to middle school. And there are targets that we could help them, because right now, the students who have been hit by cars while on a bicycle and pedestrians, they're older. The littler kids who are in kindergarten, second grade, they're not riding their bikes to school. It's those older kids who can be impulsive, and we want them to get the safety skills right now so that they're not hit by cars. But there were a great number of students who were so brave at Chavez, and so many learned how to ride a bike. A student who was a fifth grader came up to me on Thursday, the last day after third week, 3 weeks. And he said, I just want you to know, I'd never been on a bike before this. And I was like, cool, but I just saw him and he was out riding around that track. And I was like, wait, this whole time? He just did it and he learned, and so many, they just were so brave, one after the other. Now it's really hard for them to do that amongst their peers, because that's just very challenging for students. But they were really brave. They did an amazing job. And now I'm at a new school and we have a new set of students who are worried. And, you know, they want to hop on a bike and they want to just ride it and go. That's challenging for a child who's afraid. But they work very hard. Some of them are very courageous and determined, and they just want to ride. And they want to go ride with friends and do it. And it's the most amazing thing. I didn't know I needed more passionate about something, but let me tell you, those of you who have been with me know now, I love this. It is so, if you come see it, you should come see it. You should come see the students, how excited they get just seeing bikes. So the little kids who go by for kindergarten through second grade, they see the bikes in the gym. They all go, there's bikes, there's bikes. And then they want to do the bikes. And so, you know, this is just for this year. Next year, I'd really like to work with Cycle Oregon and Salem-Keizer Public Schools so that we have our own dedicated fleet for Salem-Keizer Public Schools, and those PE teachers can sign up. They can do 2 parts. They can do kindergarten through second learn to ride, which is a whole new bicycle fleet full of different bicycles. And then 3rd through 5th grade, those bicycles are bigger, have to fit their bodies, you know, helmets that fit their, so it needs to cater those programs, those ages. And I really hope that I work and support that part of the program, because it should be a completely embedded, wonderful program to go for it. And PE teachers are phenomenal. They're really the ones that they're running the show, because they get the curriculum, they are out there teaching it, they're helping, they're doing their extra time. I mean, today we unloaded 78 bikes. We unloaded all the bikes today. And then we loaded them all back up again. But I'm getting really strong, I want you to know. All the bikes.
Gym membership necessary.
Yeah, anyway, I just didn't know. I would encourage anybody who wanted to see what this is and what it's about to come see it in person, because looking at a picture is one thing, but hearing those voices and hearing what they have to say and overcoming their own challenges, just seeing that, it will completely change about bicycle safety and changing infrastructure to support our students so they can go live their lives independently and have a choice and live that safely.
And Beth, I remember you telling me that you think kids were saying they were excited to get to school.
Yeah, that was.
Because they knew the bikes were gonna be.
Yeah, because this was my first week and we had just come back from spring break when we started at Chavez. And so, well, first I was told there may be a strike. I needed to be aware. So I said, yeah, I'm aware, I'm flexible. So we weren't sure that it was gonna happen, but we just, you know, we dove right in. And so some kids came back, it was spring break, and then suddenly, like, another day, and I'd be like, oh, there's more. Then another day, it's like, oh, there's more. And then I realized they're telling the other kids, we got bikes, let's go to school. And then I realized more and more, and then I realized all of them were there. And we had to get more helmets, we had to get more bikes. Chavez Elementary.
It is.
Yeah, and I was like, I had to go make arrangements to go get 40 more helmets. I had to make arrangements another day to go get more bikes.
Gee,
And
who'd
so-
have thought that if you make school fun, kids would want to go? That's crazy.
Bring something.
And so I did ask the principal, I said, can you please check your data about your attendance? Because that's the whole goal with the data that provides. If you have these things, kids are gonna come to school.
Yep.
Well, the other thing is, and I'm gonna speak from personal experience, growing up in Southern California, riding a bike all the time. I mean, we'd drive 30, 40 miles a day, but it increases your awareness as a driver.
Absolutely.
When you do become a driver, you go, wait a minute, I know about being out here and what's going on, and not only the freedom that you get to be able to ride wherever you want to ride. Of course, it's different, and I think that's the other thing about, how many did you say 30% do not, or 30% do?
30% do not know.
Yeah, because in today's society, it's not the same as when we were kids growing up about just getting on your bike and riding down the street. A lot more traffic, but there's stuff out there that happens that didn't happen a long time ago either, so.
And like students
It'll
don't
help
know.
encourage them.
Yeah, like those who were hit this year, I don't have that access to like finding out what happened in those situations, or if, I mean, I'm sure the student is okay now because I haven't read anything in the news, but like, I would be curious to see, you know, did they know? Did they know stop? Did they know turning signals? Did they know just the things that we're teaching? Because that's the ultimate goal, is to say, okay, I told them each time when I talk to them, okay, this is why we're doing it. It's for you to be safe, for you to learn how you need to ride your bike safely on the road and what to expect. I don't want you to be hit by a car. I want you to feel safe and independent and move about your world. Go to the park, go to the grocery store, go have fun. And that's what I want them, is that feeling of empowerment for themselves. So they're not afraid of everything.
Do you collect any data on obstacles as to why they didn't ride a bike? Or, I mean, do you hear, or is it anecdotally that my parents don't want me out, or? What is it that you can?
Well, I mean, I would just like anecdotally, like I could share, because my kid is one of those 30% that don't know how to ride a bike. Like, she knows how to ride a scooter, but not a bike, and it's because like, I don't trust where we live.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's a park right across the street, but it's like, people are blowing through it really fast. The lanes are super wide. There's no crosswalk. It's really hard for kids to get over there. And like, we live right next to Portland Road. So like, I wouldn't want her like riding her bike to get to go to the grocery store or anything. It's definitely not. I mean, I grew up in a teeny tiny town in Kansas. But like, literally like population 1,000, including dogs, pigs, and cows. And I would ride my bike to go to the library and go to school and go to the pool, but like, there wasn't traffic like there is here. So yeah, like I would not let my kid out there. And I mean, like, I don't have the time to go out there with her.
Right, but in PE, so that's been the greatest thing. So many kids that came up to me, one student, she was just really apologetic, and she said, I'm sorry, Beth, my parents just never bought me a bike and I didn't learn to ride. And I said, but that's okay, you're here now. And we all get to have fun and you get to learn to ride. And she was great, and she worked so hard, and she did it. So like, that's okay right now with what we have there. Those who are willing to try are trying their best, and they're getting out there and they're doing it. And we had developmental disability students who also did it. It was so amazing. It's adaptable. We can do these things. And I was so excited when that student just took off, and I was like, oh my gosh, let's go. Because everybody deserves a chance to learn how to ride a bike. So yeah, it's kind of across the board. And those students who, wherever they got a bike, wherever they made it happen. But yeah, does somebody have a question? Or is that what?
Yeah, Sarah has a comment.
I just wanted to really quick say that I was a student that took a course like this in the Salem Public School district when I was in 5th grade. So I personally went through this, and it was absolutely life-changing. It was literally like mini driver's ed. We learned how to do all the hand signals. We learned how to be safe. And then they also took us on like a little excursion through town where we were like asked to, you know, figure everything out. There were more than one kid that was just in my 5th grade class at that time that was able to learn how to ride a bike there. So I needed to say that this was a program that I don't know if it's the exact same program, but I did personally experience it. I remember it viscerally, and it definitely left a lasting impact on me. So I just had to say my 2 cents on that.
I'm really happy to hear that. Was it Safety Town?
No.
Okay, so
No, it wasn't Safety Town, but I was actually a camp counselor for Safety Town.
Oh, was it with this man named Norm Johnson?
I don't remember. It was at Pringle Elementary School. It was probably 2005. They brought in all the bikes. Nobody had to bring their own. And they showed us first in the gym and then outside. It was great.
Okay, yeah, I think that, one of the things that we're doing that, Tanya Perfecto Calderon, my program assistant, just because I know this is so momentous for like you, we order ribbons and we give them a certificate, something that saves something that is really significant. This is a magical time for this, for a child in their life to learn to ride a bike. And one of the people last week told me, because we put their label on their helmet and then in their class and they come in and they have half an hour or 40 minutes, very fast to get a helmet, get your bike and get the education going. You have to keep a lot of going. And the student was over there trying to carefully take off the label off their helmet because we were having to throw them away because we had to sanitize the helmets, but the student just wanted to save the label to remember the class. And I was like, you're kidding me. Every day I basically cried because I was so proud of it.
So
They
Beth
did
is
really-
arranging something for May 18th. Sarah mentioned community rides. You want to talk a little bit about the May 18th?
It's May 8th.
May 8th, sorry.
Yep,
May 8th.
Sadie, I can now talk about it because I can just tell everybody.
All
I'm so
right.
excited. Sadie, those of you who have a bike and would like to join us, we are gonna have our first official bike bus. And a bike bus is just where you meet up at a location and you ride to another location, just like a walking bus. Some of you have already taken part in that. This bike bus will join at Chemeketa at the red parking lot at 45th and Fire Protection Way. And we have a route and we'll just get on bikes and we're gonna ride along 45th, which I'm really excited about, has a bike lane, but it's on Wednesday morning and all the garbage is and recycling is out there and there's a bus route. So
Real world practice.
I'm real excited. Yeah, real world with middle schoolers who are real impulsive, by the way, as you might guess. So I'm inviting lots of community members and all of the community that wants to engage. I'm really proud of this first bike bus. And if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. And hopefully there'll be more students than adults who are community members, but I guess we'll find out.
Good time.
9:20, we are going to meet there at 9:20. Wednesdays is late start at Salem-Keizer Public Schools, so it's kind of ideal to sometimes have these later things, like when you have a walking bus at 8:30 in the morning rather than 7:20, but you know, that's okay. I like to start school early anyway, I guess.
The only last thing that I wanted to say about this was that, I remember when Mike talked about bringing this like safe routes to school, like curriculum and stuff and having it be taught by PE teachers. And I will be honest, I was like super skeptical because I was like, I don't think that they're going to want to have more onto their plate and they're not going to want to do this. And Mike was like, no, trust me, like it's a curriculum, we'll build it and they just have to do it. And so I'm really glad that this has worked out. And I just wanted to publicly state that like I was super skeptical and I'm really glad that this is the actual result.
Yeah. Well, I want to give
Really hard.
I want to give Beth the credit for that curriculum work. As a coordinator, she is working tirelessly with the school district to advance all these things. I didn't think we'd be this far after a year and a half as her as coordinator. It's a big lift. It's the second biggest school district in the state. It's just her and a half-time program assistant. We put in for a grant for the state for $150,000. Maybe we'll get that extra money, but down the road, we're going to need more money for this program. Money that is in the tip for $510,000. We think will last 3 years, give or take. But by 2026, we're going to need a lot more money for the next 3 years, and the school district to be a partner. And who knows how far we'll go, but Beth's doing a great job. So glad we hired her, and kudos goes to her. So,
Yay. I'm gonna go Commissioner and then to Julie.
Couple questions. Is there anything going on in Turner for this?
No, this is my
Okay.
partner, Salem-Keizer Public Schools.
And then maybe this is a comment. What's the procedures for speed dumps? And I'm gonna look at the chair, speed bumps or speed dumps because they'll dump you, but
Yeah.
what did I saw a new term for them. What was it called?
Speed humps?
Yeah.
Speed hump? Speed hump. So,
Better.
and the reason I'm asking you is because on Cummings, in front of Cummings Elementary, even if you're going 20 in the school zone, you will mess your car up. what's the procedure for safe routes to schools? Because you really have to slow down in front of that elementary school about adding more speed.
Well, that's beyond the MPO. That's local.
So it's a jurisdictional
That was
issue.
our project. That was a local project.
And why?
City hazard standards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we put that in because we wanted to slow the traffic at Cummings Elementary because this is a straightaway.
Yeah.
And by putting the table, we worked with the fire district and so forth, to make sure it was something that was easily traversed by the larger rigs. But people do need to slow down. If they're trying to race down to the end of Cummings, they are going to discover that, oh, this thing is not flat.
Yeah.
And then we're also able to put, because the neighbor on the south side had actually encroached in the right of way. We actually found out we had a little bit of right of way to put the landing because we didn't think we had any. So you can actually cross there. That's my neighborhood. I live on the other side of Cummings. And I love that because you can see it's now really visible in both directions. But the cars have, the people who live in the area now know, slow down. You can glide over at 20, but if you are hitting it at 30 plus, you're going to be
20.
I've done it at 20.
It's doing its job.
That is, that's what I was gonna say. I
Yeah.
think we're adding, I
Yeah.
think we're gonna add one, but we're putting in it, somehow for emergency for fire engines, they actually can go through without hitting it.
They've got those gaps in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wheel,
Yeah.
and also you can get a motorcycle through those. You want them wide enough because those, I don't care if it's a bump, hump or whatever, for motorcycles, it's dangerous.
Right, they hit it.
Yeah. So you want to have something where the motorcycle can go through it.
I know the street in front of Chavez Elementary School, which is Walker, had several, speed bumps, or speed humps on it, because that's also a long straightaway. I guess it's a city of Salem street, so.
It's both city and county, and so the speed bumps that we put in were put in, but on the city section, the county didn't permit them. So there could be another one.
What's wrong with the county?
I don't know.
What street is that?
Walker.
Walker.
So.
I was gonna just
Yes.
say something quickly about the former Safe Routes to School, not the former bicycle safety education that Sarah referenced was done, a long time ago. But I did still work here, and it was totally volunteer led. So with the Bicycle Transportation Alliance, the Middle Willamette Valley chapter, and they would reach out to different schools and try to get schools to buy into doing it. We did it at a handful of schools. I would usually volunteer on the community ride days, which was the last day, and we would actually go off campus with the students. We took students from Sumter, I think. We took them across Kubler to Woodmansee Park. Not sure they would allow that anymore. But I will just say that, so I think one of the strong benefits of this being taken up by Beth and it was more than a volunteer program could sustain. It needed somebody, some staff who also still needs volunteer support to make it work, but it really needed that. And it also needed the buy-in from the school district. At the time, it was really a school by school, volunteers begging the principals to let them come in. And so anyway, I just want to commend that. To make it sustainable, it does need the support of us.
I was say one more thing. So my MOU that is negotiated with Salem-Keizer Public Schools and Safe Routes to School in Cycle, Oregon ends at the end of this school year. We will renegotiate another one to hopefully support my vision. And it's on these PE teachers to sign up with me, and then we coordinate the bicycle fleet and then everything else. But hopefully we can negotiate another year of it. And I would think that there were so many PE teachers who were really excited at the possibility of that. This is gonna go. I have invited Western Oregon University, Dr. Gay Tinkin. She's coming again. She teaches PE teachers. So she's bringing the PE teachers tomorrow. She teaches what's called bikeology. So the PE teachers I've worked with were her students. So it worked out amazingly that way. But my goal would be that These PE teachers, student teachers will come and they will work in our Salem-Keizer Public Schools. They'll learn this curriculum. They'll go out to around Oregon. Bicycle safety. That's my goal, is to see this growing in a way that it has a ripple effect to support safe routes to school around Oregon, because Cycle Oregon takes bicycle fleets all over Oregon and they support Oregon safe routes to school. So for me, making the connections in that way, yes, Salem-Keizer Public Schools, I want all of those student teachers to support us in these schools next year. But if they go get jobs, let's have them already trained so that they can do it at the schools where they are, and then they can just ask Cycle Oregon to bring them a bicycle fleet, right? And then it's a win-win-win. We're all having fun riding bikes and being car free. So I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy and proud of it. And I invite any of you who would like to come see it to ask me, and I'll get you, Maria probably could get you a good pass too. I think, anyway, you're all welcome to come visit anytime through the end of May.
Thank you very much. Very exciting program. All right, there's some other things on the agenda with some upcoming dates for meetings, including our next policy committee meeting, which is on May 28th. And the next TAC meeting will be on May 14th. And thank you for noting the Oregon Transportation Commission meetings. And we'll be having a conversation. Well, I will be, who else is me, Mike, Director Carney, are you on that one for having conversation with the school district, school board? Not their actual meeting, but we're going to have a conversation next week.
I don't know that I am.
I know it's this week.
Oh, it's still this week. Oh my gosh, I am,
Thursday.
it's Thursday.
Noon, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be at the League of Oregon Cities Conference, but I'm gonna pop out to have that conversation.
Yeah, I'll be at the Land Conservation Development Commission meeting, so I won't be able to join.
All right, so Mike and I will be on that phone call and we'll have that conversation. Cool. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, folks, the time is 1:17. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Maria, can I? Maria? Okay. Talk to you about the meeting.
Ride my bike.
Help support you.
Right, no, I help support
I did.
Sidewalk.
I got almost got run down. Like there were places walking home and I know